Is it true that the teachers play movies because they're hungover? Is that like an accurate thing?
I don't know. Probably.
Okay.
I would not want to teach
have not
if
done
hungover.
it.
I have not
Okay.
yet.
Will you?
That was me.
Yet.
Like, I
Noah.
was thinly
Yet.
veiling that question. I was really just concerned with whether or not you had done it in the month since you started.
No. That would be bad.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be doing that if that has happened already.
Welcome to the Q4 podcast.
That's getting better and better, isn't
The
it?
only podcast that you can find on iTunes with three guys, sometimes four, sometimes five, sometimes six, that know nothing about sports.
We've only had 4 once. Twice now,
I was
because
gonna
Christian's
say.
back. We've never had 5, never had 6.
I was going to say, when
That's what you think.
did you
And we
do
know
this
something
without
about
me?
sports.
We have phones and computers.
I know how
We can form our own opinions.
I know how to play sports, or like how conceptually sports are supposed to work. Like I know in football there's 11 players. There's like specific positions and like all the
We know
routes.
what sports are.
I mean, but
Yeah.
we're just like every other sports talk show. We're just it's just all hot takes and personal opinions.
That's true.
We're no different than anybody else.
Less spit
We're
than Colin
different
Coward, but
than Skip Bayless because at least our wild predictions actually have a small chance of actually being right.
that's true.
It's
Okay.
very true.
NBA. Should we
NBA,
get there?
we're going to move
Okay.
in Q1. All right. First topic for today, we have to talk about the Jimmy Butler story and controversy going on there in the Minnesota Timberwolves. So, if you're not familiar with the story, listeners, Jimmy Butler requested to be traded from the Minnesota Timberwolves, listed off a series of teams he would rather play for, which included the New York Knicks, which is baffling to me.
For those of you who couldn't see it, TJ just stopped for like 3
Just-
seconds
it's
and
like,
just
wow.
a look of utter disbelief on his face, like could not find the words accurate enough to describe it.
That's like a team. That's like someone, I don't know, playing for the Chargers. It's like Phillip Rivers is like, you know what? I want to be traded away. And my 3 options are the Bills, the Jets, and the Browns.
We've
Why?
we've seen some history in the past though, where sometimes players are looking beyond the basketball court when they come to a place they want to choose to go play for, because there are plenty of players, especially highly marketable players like Jimmy Butler, that might want to just be in New York for simply the fact that it's the largest media market in the country, much more exposure, and a bunch of PR stuff that they may not be able to get in smaller cities.
Yeah, but the Knicks are gross.
But if you're gonna pick a team to play for in New York, are you gonna pick the Knicks or the Nets? So
Well, at this point, he can't. It's what team is picked
Right.
for him. And right now, it
Yeah.
seems like the Wolves are being picked
Well,
for him.
This is the continuing controversy. is that
all I'm saying is that, you know, there may be reasons beyond simply the basketball team aspect that maybe Jimmy Butler wants to go to New York.
that's fair.
That's why, I mean,
I suppose.
same with Kawhi. Like, Kawhi wanted to go to LA, but it's in the same situation. Like, it wasn't his choice.
Spurs were
like,
gonna trade him to the
he
West.
went to Toronto, so that sucks. That's like the farthest thing away from LA. Not
Yeah.
geographically,
Canada's
but
pretty good though. It's all nice up there up Norton, don't you know? It's
Yeah.
just such a nice
dude,
place.
Kawhi
eh?
is, yeah. So
Oh, he's gonna be so
gonna be
Canadian. but
chilling.
he's gonna
Nice.
It's
be.
just
That's stupid.
I think the
But
reason
nice.
why one of the biggest reasons why this is devastating news for the Timberwolves is because when the Wolves traded for him last year, there was hope that they could finally, you know, with just getting the addition of a star player, actually make the Wolves relevant again. But then throughout the season, they struggled to play consistently well. And then there were the comments that came out middle of the season about Jimmy Butler being unhappy with the work ethic and team camaraderie amongst Cat and Wiggins. And so the fact that now our one superstar wants out and doesn't plan to sign an extension after the season if he plays with the Timberwolves, the Wolves really are just kind of in a tailspin.
And this is where it gets worse, because Tibbs made a response to Butler's wanting to be traded, saying that no, we're not trading you. You're just going to stay and you're going to play for the team. The ownership responded by saying, no, we're going to trade Jimmy Butler. And most recent news, Coach Thibodeau has come out and said that if Butler doesn't play, he doesn't coach.
Yeah, I don't think his time is long here in Minnesota.
No.
I think that ship has kind of sailed. Like being a really tough defensive guy and then being one of the worst defensive teams in the last 3 years. I don't think his time here is going to be long after this season, even if we get to this season. I don't think he's...
What is it about Minnesota that does this? Like, it's a great state. I love it. But in terms of sports, it keeps shooting itself in the foot. Is it Minnesota? Is it the state itself? Is there like some curse that when you come in to state boundaries, it's like, okay, yeah, you may like everything we've got to offer here, but you're always going to have a really crappy sports team, and you'll have like maybe one good year where like you have some sort of hope, but then we throw some just total BS at you, and you're going to go back to being crappy again.
Yeah, and just like mediocre. Like the Wolves were good last year. I mean, but again, relative to what we saw for like the post KG era.
Okay,
They hadn't made the postseason since 2004, I believe. So
yeah, and
cut them some slack. But
I mean, relative, they were good last year, but they're not. Regardless of what happens, they're not going to make it anywhere in the playoffs because the NBA has already decided. So the top 4 teams are already decided.
Never mind the fact that the Wolves happen to play in the West and not the East. Because the West is absolutely loaded.
Yes.
So,
and even if they were to play in the East, there's no way in hell they ever beat the Sixers. Or not the Sixers, the Celtics. And then even after that, the Sixers they probably don't beat in a 7-game series.
And the Raptors
anyway.
with Kawhi.
With Jimmy Butler. Now, without Jimmy Butler and an uninspired Andrew Wiggins and Cat who's bathing in money but can't play defense, there's not a lot of hope for this.
Big Meow's
Pups.
his extension, like it, because it was going on right in the middle of this story too. Like Jimmy Butler's like, I'm going to be traded because I don't like playing with these guys who don't like to work. And then Cat gets signed to a max deal. Like,
Yeah.
That's why I said at the time the extension could have waited just until this whole thing passes, because now you're kind of boxing yourself in, because if there are potential coaches that want to come to Minnesota, or potential players that might be interested in coming to Minnesota, if any of those players or coaches have an issue with Karl Anthony Towns, well, they're not going to like the fact that he just got locked up to a supermax
For, was it 5 years?
5 years.
5 years, $190 million.
Yeah. So
Do you think it's
if that's... Sorry, go ahead.
do you think it's possible that he could just like withdraw stacks of cash and then like tape them to his shoes, so then he's like a foot taller, so his defense could just like get better? So
I
like,
don't think that's illegal.
Yeah,
In
that's
terms,
true.
like I don't think there's a rule in the NBA rule book against doing that.
Like,
so
just
It's a
like,
little
you
slippery, but...
just
yeah, but like
take out stacks, make it gold bars, so it's like nice and sturdy.
Nice.
And you're just clunking around on the field and
it's easy to
on
play
the court.
defense if you're heavier than everyone else out there. You just
Exactly.
plant in one spot.
And plus, if you're 10 feet tall, you just put your hands up in the air and nothing's getting past you.
He's clunky enough already, so it wouldn't look weird. Yeah. Yeah, he
Might as well
needs to
put that
figure
money to
out
good use.
how to play defense or put on some weight or something, because he just gets bullied by every other 5 in the league, and it's...
And now time,
Tough.
because we're mainly focused on speculation here at Q4. So
That's the only
Speculation
thing we're
is
focused
being
on, I think.
generous.
where's Jimmy going? Where does he go? He's requested to go to either Brooklyn, New York, and then there's a third team in there that
I
was
thought
it
he said the
Sacramento?
Clippers.
It was the Clippers.
I think he said the Clippers.
Okay. So
But
does he
then-
go to one of those, or does Tibbs send him somewhere he doesn't want to go, just as a final middle finger to Jimmy Butler?
An important caveat here is that he may have ideas of where he wants to go. The thing is, the Wolves can trade him to anywhere. So and Tibbs has said, at least in the past, that they will only trade him for the right deal. So if any team comes up with a decent offer for him, I don't think they would hesitate to pull the trigger. Now, where that deal comes from, I don't know.
Yeah.
By plus minus, he was one of the best players in the league last year, top 5.
Los Angeles.
So he could definitely get a decent return somewhere. But yeah, where's that coming from?
Yeah, I don't think it's Los Angeles. I don't think
No, it's not.
It's definitely not the Lakers, and it's not going to be the Clippers, because the Clippers want Kawhi, and Kawhi wants to go to the Clippers. So
But Kawhi's in Toronto.
yeah, but for how long?
Until they get rid of him.
Right, which will be probably next year.
Oh, he's a free agent after this year.
Yeah.
So
I think he's going to LA without a doubt.
I forget who it was, but someone was talking about that Toronto charm, that who knows, maybe Kawhi just actually likes it in Toronto and decides
no one
to stay.
actually likes it in
Who
Toronto.
was talking about that, and what part of Toronto were they from?
What
I
drugs
don't
are
know.
they
It was.
on?
I think it was a former Toronto player.
That makes sense.
Just saw a Facebook
Former.
post.
He's
after
been
he was
brainwashed.
Yeah. And who knows? Maybe Kawhi might get
Indoctrinated
brainwashed.
into the Toronto culture.
The now former Raptor DeMar DeRozan, now of the San Antonio Spurs, said he never wanted to leave Toronto. So
That's true.
That may have been it.
But then he
DeRozan.
did. Not of his choice, but he did. So, yeah. I don't know where Jimmy will go. I mean, he's good. He's a good player. He gets hurt a lot. He was hurt last year, and we were like,
but the thing is, I think
and looking
the
good.
Wolves might find it hard to get a good deal for him because the Wolves have no leverage because they know that he wants out and that he's just trying to force a trade. So a lot of teams are going to lowball the Wolves.
And we're going to get, like you said, we're going to get nothing until the end of the year, and then he's just gone anyway. So
yeah. And he's already been not showing up to like team functions anyways, like media day, training camp. He hasn't shown up to anything. So we can't just keep him on and be like, no, Jimmy, you're playing, because he legit won't play. He will just refuse to do so. So we're in about the tightest corner that you could possibly be in this scenario.
Yeah, I don't really know what the best option is here.
Disband the team.
Something, blow it up, start from scratch.
Give Tibbs $500 million and he could just go and find some randos in like college basketball.
Create a third conference, the Western Conference.
The Western
It's
Conference.
just the
Just
Timberwolves.
It's just the Wolves.
It's always interleague play.
And this makes it
Exactly.
really hard because the Wolves are trying this season to attract fans to the newly renovated Target Center. How hard is that going to be?
Spent millions of dollars renovating Target Center, and then
For the Jimmy Butler
era, and then he leaves, and they're like, "I know all this money we just spent.
Wait a second. Come back.
Not only money you spent on the money
And
on Cat.
they doubled down on Karl Anthony Towns. So
Who needs
Big
to
meow.
improve a lot if he wants to be like a dominant center in the league.
He's more like
Needs to
the
improve.
medium-sized meow.
Did you
but
just call him Big Meow?
Yeah,
I like that.
Is that a common man thing? I think it's a common man thing. He calls him the big meow, and I picked that up because
Is
I
this gonna get
always listen to
copyrighted?
Common.
I prefer
he just
Cat.
Talked
But,
about the common man.
Hey, no, we're not popular enough.
We could just be talking about the generic common.
common man.
Your average common man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, Wolves are effed, I think.
Yeah, yeah. You know who's not effed?
The Warriors. Sorry. Were you segueing? It's segues. Go again.
You know who's not effed?
I don't know, TJ. Who is that?
Possibly the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, you don't say. Look at that. Wow. Seamless transition.
Thank you. We were.
Pretty low. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the Cleveland Browns. Anthony, this is you. This is all you. You predicted at the beginning of the season that the Cleveland Browns would go 9-7
Yep.
and make the playoffs. That's
Yes.
already wrong because they had a top. Come on,
Okay.
let's take a look at Cleveland's schedule.
And here's my thing with this 1-1-1, and I don't want to proclaim myself as any sort of, future seeing messiah, but I might do just that. Tyra will be coming back to play any football for Cleveland. Baker Mayfield in a half and 2 minutes looked so solid, so mature for. Everyone looked up to him. Once he came in the game, the crowd got really, really loud. Everyone just had a spark, and it was just better. And Baker Mayfield is a special quarterback, and if he can keep the turnovers down, stop of this, have a shot at the playoffs. And with the Dolphins starting 3-0, with the Patriots starting 1-2, with the Bengals, I'm pretty sure the Bengals are leading that division right now.
2-1.
So it's up for grabs, and there's going to be some.
I was with Anthony at the beginning saying the Browns could have a pretty good season. I don't think any of us expected the Steelers to have this poor of a season. And the drama is just continuing with Le'Veon Bell, now Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
I mean, because of their no-nonsense, down-to-business style of play. And it seems like both Mike Tomlin and Bill Belichick are losing control over their teams. I think we're starting to see, even if it's just for a couple of seasons, a changing of the guard, where the Patriots and Steelers are the
NFL powerhouses. And this is going to be my refutation of what you just said about Baker Mayfield, in that, he was commanding the offense. He looked good, but it was against the Jets.
Right, but their defense. Don't give me that look. They're not
in
terrible.
the Steelers game, if you had Baker Mayfield instead of Terod Taylor. what would that have looked like?
Yep. And very easily, I want to reiterate, 1-1-1 could very easily, with a couple made with Tyrod, however the hell you say his name. Tyrod playing the first 2 games, and now Baker. They have the pieces, and they're starting to come together. But, and I mean, Steelers and Saints, they went 0-1-1 again. Yes, please.
Steelers
love to hear it.
Do not look good.
No,
they actually look very bad. The Saints have the worst defense in the NFL.
Oh my God.
They have given up one less. They have one of the highest scoring offenses. They have the second highest scoring offense.
I think there's a difference between the Browns having a certain record and the Browns deserving a certain record. The Browns have the feel this year that they're just going to stumble into some dumb luck. Or like, you get the Steelers on a really... Their offense has been looking pretty good at times.
This is a team sport. You can't.
They had to work really hard last Sunday to win a shootout against Atlanta.
But that's the thing. They can win a shootout against a playoff caliber team like Atlanta. But the Browns have... The Cleveland Browns could go 9-6-1. Based on what their record looks like right now, or based on what their schedule looks like right now, they may not deserve. They may not deserve to be 9-6-1, but it's very feasible.
Very well could be.
Because as you said before the podcast started,
especially this year,
yeah, exactly. So we can run through the Browns schedule, and I'm going to be a semi-believer in my predictions here because it would be a lot of fun to see the Browns be good.
Yeah,
like I first overall material.
Oh, same.
But I want to see him do well. I was wrong. I was wrong.
Thank you.
Well,
you were wrong.
I have not been wrong yet.
Baker Mayfield and his Browns are undefeated right now. So just careful where you're treading. They're undefeated.
Defeated 2 quarters into the season.
Defeated right now, TJ.
Okay.
Undefeated.
Right. We're going to move through this. We're gonna
Never lost.
Never lost. Never lost.
Never lost.
This weekend, Browns get a dub against the Raiders.
John
Gruden has single-handedly driven this team into the dirt. And he's going to make $10 million a year every year for the next 10 years for doing so.
I was reading somewhere, I think it was on Bleacher Report. It was an interesting, they're rebranding. They're moving to Vegas. And so with Gruden coming in, people are like, oh, this could give us a couple good years in Oakland. But no, they're bringing Gruden in for the long haul. And the trade of Mac signifies...
The team is still really old, which is the problem.
It is. So it's still a work in progress.
Yeah.
So this might be a multi-year rebuild.
The Khalil Mack trade has that's the one that's making me laugh a lot this year because every week, need to get more pressure in the quarterback.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Khalil Mack is literally single-handedly putting up better stats than the entire Raiders defense is.
Is he? I'm wondering if he's doing that on purpose because it's like he's being so rushed today, and everyone's like,
"You just
are you kidding me?
Best pass
you're
rusher.
telling me you're going down this parade saying Khalil Mack doesn't want to be here, and now you're like, man, I wish we had some pass rush. Like you're about 6 weeks late on this
probably
one. Okay,
the best defensive player.
Did you expect?
What? Yeah.
Your defense wasn't that good with him. So when you take him off, it's not going to be that good.
Tiger Woods cuts his arms off, and he's like, "Oh man, I'm really just not as good at golf as I was before."
I can't get as much drive into my swing. I don't know what's going on.
Oh my god.
So Browns dub this weekend. So they're 2-1-1.
Okay.
Ravens. That's a possible dub.
The Ravens looked really good week 1. They've looked more so-so the last.
So that's a potential dub.
In the dog pound.
So we'll go possible 3-1-1. Then Chargers.
Chargers at home.
Yeah, Chargers are good though. Chargers are real good. I think the Chargers are low-key
I can see them
good.
pulling that one out. The Chargers pulling that one.
Vomit if I hear Ryan Fitzpatrick and how good the Bucs are.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is not going to be playing. Jameis Winston's back, and they've already announced he's starting. Yeah.
Okay. Can we just really quick on the Bucs?
Yeah.
What?
Bad
then he had a
performance last week
Fitzpatrick
against the
Okay,
Steelers.
but stats on Jameis Winston, Ryan Fitzpatrick for a moment. Last 6 starts. We're going to get the last 6 starts for both of them. Okay, with the Bucs. Jameis Winston, last 6 starts.
I had them at like 2-14 this year. And
Yeah, I had them being,
I think
like, the second worst team in the NFC, right in front of the Bears, who I predicted before, and it makes me really unhappy. Because everyone's like, oh, the monsters of the Midway, they're back. It's not the monsters of the Midway. It is Khalil Mack and his 10 underlings.
yeah.
And then Mitch Trubisky, who still looks like a horrified.
Khalil Mack and the underlings, man, come see us. F the man, yeah.
Also, I
have you been a
apologize for
part of-
Okay, sorry,
have
that
you
got a
been
little
part of
real,
a
didn't it? Okay, so
and I
after the
apologize for
Bucks.
No.
So that's
I don't think Tampa Bay is as good as they've seemed the first 2 weeks, but I still think they are better than the Browns. So I'm counting that as a close L.
so. We have that as a 3. So now 3-3-1. Then they go to Pittsburgh.
Another one of the most surprising things about this season is Patrick Mahomes.
Oh my
He
God.
is good.
He's
so
legit.
good.
Legit.
He's so good.
So good.
He hasn't thrown a pick yet. Like
Like
he's
if you watching his throws, just on fire.
it literally looks like it hurts to catch.
And the biggest thing is he's for some reason he's had to be this good too, because the old Chiefs teams that had Alex Smith, they had a fantastic rushing attack with Kareem Hunt and Spencer Ware and Sharkandrick West. Ball. He's been a touchdown hawk, but Patrick Mahomes, so he's had to throw the ball because their running game hasn't been as good as it's been recently.
Yeah, so that's an L. So 3-5-1 for the Browns.
Okay.
At home against Atlanta, that's a loss.
That's a loss. 3-6-1.
They go.
You could do that.
Let's remember what has happened so far this year, though. I agree with all of these, but at the same time,
they're meaningless.
Yeah, like Minnesota was a 17-point favorite, and they got caveat. Just you never know.
Yeah,
you never know.
But these are speculative predictions.
Right. Correct.
So
correct.
I guess the Bengals
You guys
will
are a
give them
little
that.
Give them
low
the
on my
win.
Browns right now.
4-5-1.
Okay, I like that.
Then go to Houston.
That's a
Houston
win.
has looked terrible.
They've been just
Houston is
terrible.
off.
That's a loss. Yeah.
5-6-1.
Go to Denver against the Broncos. They can beat
6-6-1.
beat the Broncos at Mile High.
Yes.
Okay. At home again.
They are going to eat Case Keenum for they're going to sit down with a plate and they're going to eat him. He's honestly not that good.
No,
We
plain
were
simple.
high on him in Minnesota because he was playing with a really good team, and he's a player that won't lower the value of your team. But the Denver offense is also just what
And then-
6-6-1.
Yep. And then Cincinnati comes to town, week 16,
Let's give them a win there.
That's a win.
and then they're at Baltimore final week of the season.
8-6-1.
Sounds like 8-6. Well, that's 15.
That's it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's 16.
Well, I think it's
They have a bye week 11, so they only play 16 games.
I know. But
safe
we have,
to say
wait.
9-6-1.
Oh, we forgot to add 8,
7-1.
7-1. Either way.
I don't know if that gets it done.
Because
That's a winning
7-1
team.
in the AFC.
Well, what's their division? Is going to Bengals.
That's going to be a surprisingly good division this year.
Be a surprising.
The Bengals and Ravens duking it out for the division.
I think the Browns are gonna.
I don't know, man.
I would only because of the fact that they've got much more battle tested quarterbacks and have better.
Yes,
Argument
thank you.
with a man.
If-
I got in an argument with James Bussey about who is better, Joe Flacco or
Name
Andy
drop.
Dalton, and he was like, Joe Flacco is objectively just a better quarterback. And I was like, no, heck off, man. And I went through career statistics. Andy Dalton, Flacco. You can shut your mouth. Joe Flacco wrote a defense to a Super Bowl.
All I'm saying is, if you had to pick your quarterback for this season of Joe Flacco, Andy Dalton, or Baker Mayfield, is anybody?
Mayfield.
Is
Mayfield.
anybody? Really?
I would take
Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield. Flacco is boring. I think Andy Dalton doesn't get it done when he needs to. I think Baker Mayfield is fun to
Joe
watch.
Flacco being boring. I've been searching for the word to find. I don't mind Joe Flacco, but boring is the just you're watching.
Grass grow.
It's like if someone took what do you imagine football to look like? It's like he is what you think about of a quarterback, I guess.
I've said this about Andy.
Oh yeah.
Let's say you're a team and you're building a franchise. If you have a quarterback who's better than one of those two guys, Joe Flacco or Eddie Dalton, good. You've got a good starting quarterback, or at least a solid one who you can build the team around. If you have a worse quarterback than one of those two guys, you should probably look for a new quarterback.
Yeah, Baker.
After and it's not even a full game. It was a second half and then a couple minutes in the first half.
This is the same way I felt about Sam Darnold after the first Jets game, and look how that's turned out. So I'm not going to ride high on Baker Mayfield forever.
I think Baker Mayfield is a better quarterback than.
Watching Sam Darnold play, and he takes off his helmet, and Sam Darnold looks exactly how you would imagine someone named Sam Darnold would look. It's just a very smug sort of dude that tries to be a frat bro, but
I was gonna say then he says he went to USC and then you actually punch him in the face.
And he took off his helmet. I was watching the Browns Jets game. He took off his helmet, flipped his hair back. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's exactly what I thought. God,
quit being such a Darnold.
Such a Sam Darnold.
Dude, what are you doing? Like
Sam Darnold.
You're such a Darnold. Just knock it off.
Gosh, what a Darnold.
Such a Darnold.
Now, with the Browns finishing 8-7-1 or 9-6-1, it's time to move into.
So it makes it unsmooth, but wow, man, good.
I think that's now part of this transition process
of
where
the smoothness.
Yeah,
is saying
these segues need to be pointed out.
Yes. Updated NFL power rankings.
Oof.
I'm standing by the fact that we would have been mostly correct if the Browns had not won, because the Browns winning threw off the balance of the NFL. Like, everything was in line, right? Everything was where it was supposed to be. The yin and yang were like perfectly harmonized. And everything just like shattered around us. And reality is collapsing. The dream is falling in.
Let me ask this. Good or bad, has any team played to their expectations this year?
No.
Well, because it's like
I was right about one team. Arizona is terrible.
They are bad.
They're
very bad.
Awful. And
I
said they were going to go 4-12. I predicted 4-12, and I'm right about that.
Expectations.
Yeah, but I was still right.
They've scored 20 points in 3 games. They paid Sam Bradford $20 million to start 3 games, and now Josh Rosen's going to be their starting quarterback.
Sam Bradford has made so much money.
He's the biggest criminal in NFL history. Less of anything else that anyone has
That's
ever
how
done.
You use words.
I know. You know what I'm saying, though? Like, I don't know how else to say that.
I hold that he is the second biggest criminal in NFL history behind
Jerry
Stan
Jones.
Kroenke.
Oh, Stan Kroenke.
Jerry
Jones. Did you? I stayed up way too late last night. Night Access, driving home from Night Access, listening to Fox News Radio from New York.
Why?
All right, because that's the only thing that was on. So I was listening to it.
I've driven home with you before, like 2 a.m.
Man, this just got
You're
personal.
gonna like this.
Okay.
In this interview, Tony Romo was asked if he would ever think about coming back to the NFL, and his eyes lit up.
How could you see this on the radio?
Tony Romo's the kind of guy where when he gets a twinkle in his eye, you can hear it.
You can feel it.
Like the way he answered this question.
He is such a. Side note here is he is such a good looking guy. Like, oh my
God. Okay, keep going.
He didn't give like. There's a lot of speculation roaming the Twitterverse right now that the right situation is Dak Prescott being awful, and Tony Romo is going to come in and be the savior of the Cowboys.
That's like there are many fan. Tony Romo is my favorite NFL player of all time. Like, when I started watching football, that was in the middle of his prime. 2007, 8, 9, when he was leading these Cowboys to some pretty decent records. And so, despite the mediocre play from that team, that was awesome. Can we just pause for a second? That was awesome because we both thought 8-8 right away. Oh my God! I'm gonna do a gesture that as a podcast.
I always celebrate.
Go ahead.
So, even though those teams were 8-8, if you say had Dak Prescott as quarterback throughout they would not be 8-8 for those seasons. Tony Romo single-handedly pulled those teams to 500 records.
Yes.
And on the time year got his shit together and was able to actually put a decent team around Tony Romo. And when that happened, you had 2014, 12-4 playoffs, and there was a BS call in Green Bay.
Here we go.
That, you know what? Shut up, Anthony.
I'm saying, here we go.
You brought up
You were talking about the interview you heard about him coming
I
back.
know, but
so-
like, what brought that on? We were doing power rankings, and then suddenly I got Noah upset
Yeah, but so
about
I'm on a
Tony
roll
Romo.
here. So just
Okay, yeah, let
so
him go.
On a personal level, I would love to see Tony Romo come back and save the Cowboys. I'm just saying, like, that is a dream scenario for me. But just as a person who enjoys life and who enjoys other people living well, Tony Romo will die if he comes back.
Yes.
A fractured vertebra, probably several concussions throughout his career as well. I mean, the reporting system on that is bad. Several leg injuries. I mean, that dude was injury prone. And if he comes back, I am
was like
not
Sam-
confident. Live at the end of the
Yes,
season.
I
And
agree.
we also have precedents because we saw this show last year. Oh, retired quarterback goes to the broadcast booth and then gets called out of retirement to go quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. Looking at you, Jay Cutler. That did not go out very well.
Okay.
No. Was as good a quarterback as Tony Romo.
I'm not talking about the two quarterbacks themselves. What I'm talking about is Jay Cutler got called out of retirement, got jumped right into a Dolphins offense, and just did not look well at all because he didn't have a training camp and a couple.
Jay Cutler and Tony Romo in the same sentence.
I'm comparing the situations,
It's just
not the
offensive.
quarterbacks.
That is offensive, good sir.
I will say.
Yeah, my two favorite quarterbacks, really on the same level, was Tom Brady and Brett Hundley.
One of, if not the best color
He
commentator
is so good.
for the NFL. He is awesome to listen to. And with Jim Nance, he's very, very good.
And he's got a good role for himself right now.
Yeah.
And
Couldn't get much worse than Phil Simms, though.
just love Tony Romo, the player, so much. It would be awesome to see him come back. I don't think it would happen because if you look, even if he did come back, he would have to do what he did in his prime for the Cowboys just to make it to the playoffs. I
And
mean,
he's old now.
yeah, I mean, sure, you've got Ezekiel Elliott, but that's not happening.
Des Bryant was seen hanging out with Jerry Jones.
Because Jerry Jones is just a dumbass. He's an
Let's
unprofessional,
get that said, yes.
jaded, old
Old
fart.
is a very, very
Yes.
key adjective here. Because
About ready to move on.
It's like Tony Romo comes
in the nicest of ways.
Tony Romo comes back. You've got Ezekiel Elliott. You have the offensive line with Zach Martin and Tyron Smith. Travis Frederick is still out, and you've got two unproven pieces at left guard and right tackle.
That's
So-
an issue. Yeah. Like,
The Cowboys would get better, but I don't think they'd get better to the point where it would be worth it for Tony Romo to return.
well, and what's frustrating for me is, as someone who wants to see the Dallas Cowboys not succeed, I'm not a Cowboys fan in the slightest. I think Jason Garrett is a cancer to that organization.
Oh,
and
I'm
needs to
a
be removed.
Cowboys fan, and I think Jason Garrett's
Yes.
a cancer to the
But it's
organization.
because Jerry Jones wants a yes man at head coach.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what he has. He has a puppet down there. But hand him the ball 35 times a game. Like, let him do some work.
Well,
like, he's so talented. You have to get him
That's
involved
the
in the
thing.
game.
Dak is Jerry's guy.
And Dak
Dak
is
sucks.
awful.
I think he is.
back in 2016 because Ezekiel Elliott was so good, which just blows my mind. Elliott should have won that award, but it's just because he played the quarterback position
and also when that Dallas offensive line is playing at its peak, anyone can be a decent quarterback and anyone can be.
Behind that offense.
you would gain positive yards in the NFL behind that line.
Yes. Which is marvelous testament to the
Oh,
skill
yes.
of that
Yeah, that
O-line.
is a very good offensive line.
But that's the thing, it is a damaged offensive line right now. Where Tyron Smith was one of the best left tackles probably 2-3 years ago. Right now, it just isn't playing like himself. Travis Frederick has the autoimmune disease. No idea when he's coming back, if he'll come back. And then you've got Lael Collins at right tackle, who is just kind of disappointing.
Same big bruising offensive line as it used to be.
So, like, a lot of people would think that if Tony Romo came back, it's like, oh, it's going to be 2014 all over again, where we're going to go on this magical run.
No.
Yeah.
No Jason Witten, no Des Bryant,
No.
no DeMarco Murray, although two offensive linemen. And so it's just, no matter how good that defense is, and they're good, they play better than the sum of their parts. It just wouldn't be worth it for Tony Romo to come back.
That was a long segment.
How
that I
did,
definitely
why,
didn't
we,
see
we,
coming.
yeah,
we
what do you-
spent this.
That was good. I like that.
Q4 I'm going to change as well because now I just like power rankings, not going to happen. We can't do it.
No, there's no.
So I want pure speculation on something else. Right now.
Like, are you okay?
Are you like I'm
Just
talking
this season?
this season combined with like I don't know, combine everything. You can have your reasons for whoever you he sucks.
But
He's not good.
So body of work can be considered, but we're talking about right now. This
talking
right
about
moment.
right now, like
Okay.
who has the best chance to lead their team to victory right now?
I'm going to
Patrick
split it up.
Mahomes.
I was going to split it up. I'm going to say NFC, AFC.
Good idea. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at all the other teams, I mean, just Drew Brees ever since he came to New Orleans in 2006 has been the guy. There has been no real steep decline in play. I mean, if you look at his stats for the season, he's got an 80% completion rating, 1,078
Gosh,
yards,
I didn't realize it was that high. Holy
8
cow.
touchdowns.
That helps when you have Michael Thomas,
Yeah.
who broke the NFL record for most receptions through 3 games at 28.
Oh yeah, I know, but
In the shootouts
That's
that he's been
impressive.
in the
Yeah.
games where he's had to lead this offense to score a lot. I mean, he's got a quarterback rating of 122 right now.
That's nutty.
And so with that New Orleans team, Patrick Mahomes, or Mahomes, however you say it, is a good quarterback. A not great offense around him has been able to put up these kinds of numbers for decades. So I think he's been the best quarterback in the NFC for the past decade. I think he's the best quarterback in the NFC right now.
That argument, the argument that you just made for Drew Brees about how he is by far the best player on that offense and can take that off. Because Russell Wilson can single-handedly, Russell Wilson is the best player on that team, and Russell Wilson has willed that team to some victories that you wouldn't otherwise think.
this season,
Their last victory came over the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. And was just all I'm saying is
They had a close game against the Cowboys.
if Russell Wilson had any kind of O-line help and even a decent receiver that wasn't injured, I think the Seahawks are a good quarterback.
I think that is twisting the question a little bit. It's like he could be the best quarterback in the NFC. Right now, Drew Brees is where his performance, the statistical performance.
because he hasn't been as good.
I think he's
Right.
been very lackluster because he's been injured.
Right.
And I'm taking this shorter scope than you are. I think that Drew Brees right now is in the NFC. I see the Russell Wilson comment. I think he's very talented, and he was kind of in that era with Cam Newton, like the first one to really be like, I'm just going to pull up and run for 30 yards and because I can.
I mean, ignoring Michael Vick, I suppose.
Well, yeah, that's.
but-
Oh, now quarterbacks are calling draws for themselves and like running and read options started becoming a
Then
thing.
Tim Tebow became a thing, and then we're like, maybe
Tim
not.
Tebow was never a thing. That doesn't count.
What
I'm saying is
he
that
had that one playoff win against
Yeah,
the Steelers.
okay.
He's also playing for the Mets.
if you know that I think Drew Brees is probably the best in the NFC, like through 3 weeks. I don't know where we'll be in 3 more weeks because Kirk Cousins has looked great and then terrible. Aaron Rodgers has been hurt, off whatever it is, and really right now there's just not a lot of firepower anywhere. Like there's no one really dominating like Patrick Mahomes is.
And I guess in NFC, we're also for this season right now, we're also forgetting about Jared Goff.
Of Todd Gurley and just how good that team is.
Right. I mean, if you look, he's got Todd Gurley. He's got a couple other weapons on offense and that defense.
One of
has
the best
been
defenses,
really, really good,
if
as
not
well.
the best in
Very
the NFL.
scary. They scare me a lot.
Can I-
Kickoff is in 5 minutes. Now I'm
gosh.
worried.
Really special. I think they'll plateau a little bit as the Chiefs do. They go undefeated and then they plateau and miss the playoffs. I think they'll make the playoffs this year, but I think someone who has been playing very well and has been playing very well for a while but hasn't got the credit is so hard. But like I think it was week 2, they had like 6 drops or something like that, and it's like you're like, dude, please just catch the ball for him. He's like 58 years old and he's out there. He's like, come on,
He's been like been good,
please.
solid quarterback
Yeah.
his entire career.
passes.
Yeah. I mean,
And-
unless you blame the quarterback for hitting you right in the hands. I mean,
Right, with Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler, their backup running back, kind of like third down back, but also could be low-key a slot receiver. Like he's really fun to watch.
And then
the
you got, and
Chargers,
he also has it.
the thing with the Chargers is trying not to beat themselves. If they don't beat themselves, they'll be fine. And I think they could easily get a wild card spot, assuming the Chiefs win the division. But I think the Chargers are underrated, and
Yeah.
Phillip Rivers very underrated as well.
If only nobody cares about the
They're like
Chargers.
they're the Jets of LA. They're the Mets of LA.
You take that back.
Fight me. Are you seriously going to try and sit here that the Jets aren't New York's second team?
The Jets.
Ball
I'm
team.
pretty sure there are 2 other high school teams that probably draw more fans than the Jets do.
That's just
And on that, I don't know what we call that topic. I think it's time to call it.
shortest episodes.
Yeah, because we have a Vikes game to get
That's
to.
true. We
Skol.
gotta go watch Skull.
Skull.
But those Browns though. Just don't be surprised where they could be in the next 3-4 weeks.
Can we start
Yeah,
a
I'm
Skull,
I
like
will
a Skull
be.
Browns?
Like, boom, boom.
I
woof.
will cut it out of this show.
Browns.
I will cut this show off right
ultimate.
now.
Hey, you never know. Just
I think
don't sleep.
if the Browns even compete for a playoff spot this year, that will be one of the biggest Cinderella. If they start competing for a playoff spot, that would be a miracle upon itself.
The original Q4 topic was wild speculations. Browns Saints Super Bowl.
hey, I would love to watch that.
Oh,
I would love to watch that. That'd be an awesome.
Fells elite.
Hey,
You know
we
what?
never said
I like
educated
that.
speculation.
That's
this is just
true.
speculation.
But at this point, it's as legitimate as saying like an freaking Rams Patriots Super Bowl. Like it's
calling it-
very legitimate.
Calling it right now. Tuesday, September 27th, 28. Browns in the Super Bowl.
I like that a lot. I back that up. I like that. I don't think it's.
I
Gonna
don't buy
happen,
it
but
at
I
all.
like that.
Anthony gets it.
Hey,
Anthony
no.
gets it,
man.
man.
TJ,
Lock it
you
up.
and I are on the same page on that one, right?
I don't have enough time to tell you how wrong you are.
I agree with
Oh,
TJ.
man.
So
I'm just going to come in here alone and record
Just
another
talk for
episode
4
of
hours.
just how wrong Saints Browns Super Bowl is.
TJ is going to go to graduate school, get his master's, then go to get a doctorate, and his
2K19 is a terrible prediction. 6 years after the fact.
After the Browns
After the Browns
beat the
Saints.
Saints 24-23 in the Super Bowl. Oh man.
And with that, goodbye.
Peace.
Thanks.
see you later.
That was good, dude. That was fun.
That was a good episode.
I gotta get a Baker Mayfield jersey or something.